Hey, how's it, guys? Welcome back to AE111 20v Squad on a podcast. Let's roll. Hey, how's it, guys? Welcome back to AE111 20v Squad on a podcast. I'm your host, Warren Carls, Enigma 20v. And today we're starting with the infamous, as the intro showed, the infamous AE111 20v that has been running rampant since 1997 here in SA, starting off with the old spec 20v RSI, as you and I know it. So, if I can say, and if I can carry on from where we left off with the 4AGE 16 valve red top small port, I can actually continue from there with the latest iteration after that, starting in 1995, or actually in 1991, when Japan actually introduced the 20 valve Silvertop, which never came to South Africa, by the way. It was never introduced here in South Africa. So between 1991, when they left off scrapping the AE92, if I can say that, with a twin cam 16 valve, as the iteration on the Toyota Levin, Treveno, BZR, etc. So the latest iteration of the 20 valve Silvertop came in the BZR, the new look of the Levin in Japan. That was in 1991, between 1991 and 1995. So if I can speak about what happened in 1997, when you cruised on the highway, whether it's the N1, N2, R300, doesn't matter where you cruised on, and you try to speed away, then the police started chasing you with a known engine as the AE111 20 valve RSI, the response vehicle for the police. That was when the AE111 20 valve was introduced in 1997 with the old spec, the one with the split bumper, black on top, color bottom, color matching at the bottom with the color of the car, and the split bumper. That was the actual car that was introduced in 1997. So between the Silvertop and the Blacktop, the Silvertop was known as the 4th gen 20 valve Corolla engine, and the Blacktop was known as the 5th gen 20 valve engine in the Corolla range. AE111 and the AE111 was 4th and 5th gen. At that time, they both were 1.587 cc's, which we call a 1600, and the two engines, obviously, like I mentioned before, was produced Silvertop between 1991 and 1995, and Blacktop was produced between 1997 and 2000. Both of those engines were running 5 valves per cylinder. The differences between the two engines, however, is what we are here to be able to discuss today. There's 30, and I'm not talking about body and interior wise and body shape wise. There's 30 mechanical differences between the Blacktop and the Silvertop, 30 to be exact. And I'm going to touch on each of them if you guys didn't know that before. So it's just to understand the differences, similarities of the two engines. So they both were pushing 1.587 cc's, which we call a 1.6. They both pushed out 5 valves per cylinder. But if you look at the combustion chamber for that engine, the combustion chambers look completely different. And as I'm going through each difference and similarities for these two engines, I'm going to put the picture up here just to show you guys what I'm talking about. So the combustion chamber for these two engines, as I'm showing you guys here, look completely different. There's indentations in the Silvertop's combustion chamber, which replicates with what and how the piston head looks for the Silvertop 20 valve. The Blacktop, however, is completely circular, as I'm showing you guys here, which means the piston head completely fills the combustion chamber for better flow. There is no restrictions on the Blacktop head with regards to flow. It flows a bit better than the Silvertop head. With regards to the airbox, as I mentioned in the previous video, the twin cam 16 valve engine ran with a vane type mass airflow sensor. The mass airflow sensor was inherited by the Silvertop from the twin cam 16 valve. Think about it. The Silvertop, with its individual throttle bodies, inherited the vane type mass airflow sensor from the 16 valve. So, like I mentioned in the previous video, that mass airflow sensor, the picture that I have here, the vane type mass airflow sensor that I'm putting up here, created restrictions for the Silvertop regarding performance, because the Silvertop was already running individual throttle bodies, 30 or 43 mils throttle bodies, 43 mil. And that's also another difference between the Silvertop and the Blacktop, is that the Blacktop had bigger individual throttle bodies than the Silvertop. Where the Silvertop had 43s, the Blacktop had 45s. But the Blacktop's airbox was a bigger airbox compared to the vane type air intake that the Silvertop had. You can also see the way it was maneuvered to the intake throttle bodies. The Silvertop's plenum was smaller as well than the Blacktop's. The Blacktop in itself did not have the vane type. It had a mass airflow sensor. That's that little pin. I'm going to put the picture up here. It looks like a little needle that slides on the side of the airbox. Also, the individual throttle bodies of the Silvertop, even though they were smaller, they were running dual linkages. If you see a Silvertop throttle body and it has those two linkages that maneuvers by together when you step on the accelerator, that's a Silvertop throttle body. The Blacktop throttle body did not have that. So as we've covered the size of the throttle bodies, the linkages, the vane type mass airflow sensor, the time when it was created between or produced between 1991, 1995, and 97 and 2000, the combustion chamber in itself, as I mentioned with a picture up here again, the combustion chambers did not look or perform the same with regards to air flow and fuel combustion derivative with regards to what's happening in the Blacktop in itself. The compression ratio of the Silvertop and the Blacktop was different. The compression ratio on the Silvertop was exactly the same as to what they had in the small port red top twin cam 16 valve. It was 10 to 5.1 compression ratio, of which the Blacktop was running 11 to 1. Think about it. 11 to 1 is already a higher compression on the engine than what the Silvertop is. There's already a big gap with regards to performance as well. So if I can take the cam belt, moving away from the compression ratio, the cam belts on a Silvertop and a Blacktop is also different. And yeah, I don't know, when I found that out, I thought it was only the belt, but no, it's the belt with the cam gears. You cannot think to swap the two VBT gears from the Silvertop to the Blacktop. It's not the same. It's not gonna fit. The only time when it will fit is when you take the intake VBT gear and the exhaust cam gear, both, and swap that over to the Blacktop. You cannot swap one at a time. You have to take both. Reason why is because the Silvertop and the Blacktop, the teeth, has got a little bit less teeth than the Blacktop in itself. So the cam belt in itself of the Silvertop and the Blacktop has differences as well. The Silvertop's cam belt is a little bit thinner than the Blacktop, and the teeth of the Silvertop is one teeth more than the Blacktop. The Silvertop's belt is 111 teeth by 19 millimeters thick. That's the Silvertop's cam belt. The Blacktop's cam belt in itself is 110 teeth, 21 millimeters. Hence the reason why I say there's a difference between the Silvertop and the Blacktop's cam gears. So with the cam gears being a difference, the Silvertop's cam gear is obviously a little bit thinner because of the width of the belt, which is 19 millimeters, and the Blacktop's belt or cam gear is a little bit thicker with 121 millimeters. There's differences with regards to how those belts work within itself as well. Where on the Blacktop you'll get hydraulic tension. With the Silvertop, it inherited the tensioner or the manual wheel tensioner from the twin cam 16 valve, where you adjust the tension yourself. And I'll put the discrepancies, or not discrepancies, I'll put the differences up here, just so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. The hydraulic tensioner of a Blacktop is that one with a pin, the one you will see here, with a pin that pushes the bearing wheel forward to tension to the wheel. When your belt stretches, it pushes more forward to put more tension to the belt, because unfortunately you would not want slack on a twin valve engine. The only engine that I know that will actually hit the valve, I'm not talking about the engine that I spoke to previously, like the 4AFE 1600 4AFE. That's the only engine that I know that do not slap a valve when it bounces a tooth or jumps a belt. With that being different as well, the hydraulic and manual tensioner, the crank pulley right at the bottom has a difference as well. Have you thought about it? With the cam gears up top being thinner on the Silvertop, the belt in itself is thinner with more teeth. The tension on the belt is different. The crank pulley at the bottom will also be different. The crank pulley on a Silvertop is 23.5 millimeters thick, and I'll put the picture up here where the Blacktop is 25.2 millimeters thick, which means the crank pulley on the Silvertop is thinner than the Blacktop, being a little bit thicker. You can see here the difference as well. The cylinders, obviously both of the Silvertop and Blacktop, the cylinders in itself is 81 millimeters, and the piston stroke for both these engines are at 77 millimeters. So there are similarities between the two. Obviously they're both running still the old style cast iron block, And the OEM power figure between the Silvertop and the Blacktop has a difference as well. The Silvertop Toyota figures pushed out 119 kilowatts at 7,400 RPM and 162 newton meters of torque at 7,200 RPM. The Blacktop, however, said on Toyota's book, said that pushed out 123 kilowatts at 7,800 RPM and 162 newton meters of torque at 5,600 RPM. If you can think about it, the kilowatts is more. The rev band also increased at 7,800 RPM. But if you think about the torque figure stayed the same. But the torque figure for the Silvertop through the rev band was actually further, which means the torque figure at 7,200 RPM was at 162 newton meters of torque. For the Blacktop, however, it was at 5,600 RPM at 162 newton meters of torque. Question. If you guys have any questions, please, while I'm here, please comment down below. I would like to know your thoughts. I would like to know what you think at the end of the day with regards to what I'm explaining, and if something hits you that I maybe missed within my video, please don't hesitate to ask. Also, like and subscribe to this video, guys. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and also give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, or tell me your thoughts. I would like to know. The camshafts in itself were exactly the same at 258 inlet and 260 exhaust cam, but the conrod on the piston, and I'll put the pictures up here. The small port twin cam 16 valve had exactly the same conrod thickness or conrod size as the Silvertop 20 valve. However, Toyota South Africa decided, let's make the twin cam 20 valve Blacktop a little bit lighter, because it's gonna be a responsive engine, if I can say that way. So they decided to make the conrod on the twin cam 20 valve Blacktop a little bit thinner. All the pictures on the differences of the conrods are up here. You guys can see it for yourself. The size and the conrod in itself has a particular weight between the Blacktop and the Silvertop. The Silvertop's conrod weighed at 506 grams. The conrod of the Silvertop. However, the conrod for the Blacktop weighed at 485 grams. What a significant change, though. Which means the revolution of the Blacktop would be faster, because the conrod spec is lighter. So with the conrod within different sizes and weights, with the conrod of the Silvertop being at 506 grams, and the Silvertop or the Blacktop's conrod having a size of 485 grams, there is, like I mentioned, the different size in the combustion chamber, as I've mentioned early on. So I'll put the picture up here again, how the differences look of the Silvertop and the Blacktop. So the circular form of the Blacktop in itself is 35 cc's, and the Blacktop in itself is 37.8 cc's with regard to the angle it is bored out on the head. The inlet ports on the Silvertop is small and has no set dividers. I'll put the picture up here as well to show you the differences between the Silvertop's inlet ports and the Blacktop's inlet ports. You can clearly see on the Blacktop there is inset dividers between the inlet ports on the Blacktop and on the Silvertop. Like I mentioned earlier, the width and the teeth on the inlet VVT gear, you can't swap the inlet VVT gear from the Silvertop alone to the Blacktop. It's not going to work. Reason why? It's not interchangeable alone because of the dowel pin. The position of the dowel pin on the Silvertop is 5 degrees out on an angular position from the Blacktop. It's 5 degrees out on the Silvertop's inlet VVT gear. So the reason why I said earlier, the only way you're going to be able to put the Silvertop's inlet VVT gear on a Blacktop is if you take the intake VVT gear and the exhaust can gear, both to the Blacktop's inlet. It's the only time, because of the differences between of the 5 degree difference in the angular position of the dowel pin. The pistons, however, the piston head has a difference as well. The piston head of a Silvertop is 308 grams. 308 grams, and that's without the rings and the gudgeon pin. Just the piston. The piston of a Silvertop weighs 308 grams. That is without the rings and the gudgeon pins. On the Blacktop, however, it weighs 315.5 grams. It's heavier than the Silvertop pistons. That is without, yet again, without rings and the gudgeon pin installed. The thermostat between the Silvertop and the Blacktop has differences as well. Have you ever thought that? The Silvertop and the Blacktop has differences in the thermostat. The thermostat size for the Silvertop is 43 millimeters in diameter, and for the Blacktop it's 56 millimeters in diameter for the thermostat in itself. That is all the differences that I could capture, which makes 30 differences. And I'm not talking about body styles, and I'm not talking about interior. All the pictures of the stuff that I have talked about, I will put up here so that you guys are familiar with what I'm saying. If you have a Toyota 20 valve RSI with an aircon, your belt size that goes over the power steering comes down around the aircon pump, goes over your tensioner pulley, goes down the crank, and then it comes up again. That big belt that goes to the front of the car, that size is a 5PK 1066. For the belt that goes the other way, over the water pump, around the alternator, over the tensioner pulley, and then goes down to the crank and comes up again, that short belt between the water pump and the alternator, it's a very short belt. It's a 5PK 840. If you have a 20 valve with no power steering, or sorry, not no power steering, with no aircon, and that's what they always ask you when you go to either a Midas or an AutoZone. Do you have a 20 valve with aircon or no aircon? I always didn't understand what they meant, but now I do. If you have a 20 valve and you delete the aircon pump, well, all 20 valves comes with aircons, but if you delete the aircon pump, of which what I did because of certain issues that I've obtained, your belt size is a 5PK 970. That is to delete the aircon and to be able to tension down. Remember, the tensioner between the aircon pump and the crank pulley, that tensioner tensions up because it goes around the aircon, then it goes over the tensioner pulley, and then it goes down to the crank. But now, if you delete the aircon pump, your rotation angle changes, of which then you will be tensioning down, because now the belt goes around the crank, up towards the power steering, goes down, but then it has to go this way again to the power steering, to the crank, because the aircon is now gone. Then you have to tension downward to make the belt go in a slot angle and then around the crank. That's the only way in differences, obviously, that you're going to be able to make to MacGyver the aircon if you delete it. The last difference that we have between the two spec 20 valves that we have here in South Africa is obviously the executive model within the 20 valve range. That is the Toyota RXi that came about in the year 2000 up to 2002. If you have a late airbag, which is on the steering wheel spec, that is the late 2001-2002 airbag spec of the 20 valve Corolla RXi. But from my understanding, all Toyota RXi's were fitted with the manual 6-speed gearbox, the C160. The 5-speed box is a C56 with a final drive of 4312 final drive. Obviously the third and the fourth gear is where your ratios are a bit shorter, but obviously the 5-speed box has a more durable lifespan than the 6-speed box. The 6-speed box is a short ratio gearbox that goes through the gears a bit quicker. It picks up speed much quicker than the 5-speed box, and it has a 4.529 final drive on that gearbox. Yes, people say the rev band comes very quick between the gears on a 6-speed box. Yes, I do agree. The car do pick up very quickly because the ratios between the gears are very quick. But the more durable box between the C56 and the C160, the C56, and if you have a difference of an opinion, please hit that comment down below. Give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell notification, and put your comment down below if you do agree or disagree with me with regards to the gearbox. The 5-speed box, from my point of view, and this is only my opinion, the 5-speed box is a more durable box between the 5 and the 6-speed. But if you have anything different to say, please hit me up, put a comment down below, and please share your thoughts. Guys, that's the 30 differences that I have for you today on the 20 valve RSI RXi AE111. I hope you liked the episode. I hope you loved the series so far. From here on out, I'll be bringing in the different drivers within the AE111 20 valve squad and introduce you guys to them. Individual guys, how they came about owning a car like that, what's their love for 20 valve, and how far has their dream with their own car taken them. Guys, thank you for joining me on this episode. It was lovely for me to research this with you and to gaining the experience with you with this type and styles of cars. Guys, keep well, stay blessed, and take care. And thank you for joining the AE111 20 valve squad on a podcast. I'm your host, Warren. I'm not seeing Connor next to me, so I'm not gonna even ask. But I'm sure you'll make a scene anytime from now onwards. Guys, take care. Peace out. Cheers.